Hey, good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. We are going to be doing a quick tour of some of the new features and functions of version 9 RoadEng Forest Engineer software in the context of a road being designed based on LiDAR as well as a P-line. So with me today is Dave Mills. He's going to be doing the actual tour. I'm just doing a little bit of an intro. So our agenda for today, get my slide to advance, we're going to be showing you the new GPS track log that you can create. Now this is both in the survey module as well as the terrain module, and Dave will show you how to access that. Point sampling goes along with that GPS track log functionality. In the terrain module, when it comes to importing LiDAR, we've got a new multi-select function for thinning regions, which if you're importing a lot of different corridors for thinning can make your life a whole lot easier. We're going to be talking a little bit about live maps and how you can bring in background photos available from a couple different providers such as Google Maps. I think we've got Bing and another couple in there. Some watershed calculation functions that are available in version 9, and then we're just going to ever so briefly touch on cable planning functionality. We generally have dedicated full webinars to this because we did overhaul that significantly, but we're just going to touch on it briefly here today. In the location module, we've added some functionality to add in a P-line after a design is already started, so we'll show you what that's like. Talk a little bit about how you can navigate between multiple horizontal alignments and multiple vertical alignments. We've got a new Project Explorer panel that's been overhauled, and yeah, it makes it a lot easier to do that, as well as the new Corridor tab. Finally, we're going to talk a little bit about Multiplot, showing you how we can export from Multiplot to go directly into Avenza Maps. This is a very useful tool if you're doing some field work. As well, the new Multiplot eLibrary. It's not up here on my agenda, but I think Dave's going to cover it off. There is a whole bunch of functions and features that we aren't going to show you. We tried to pick those ones that we thought were the most relevant, but there's been, grading objects improvements, drive-through mode, your eye position offset you can change. We're not going to show it to you, but it's there. There is now an undo button in Multiplot, which for me probably is my favorite item on this entire list. We've got localization available, so if you speak another language and want to run your software in either Spanish or Croatian, you can absolutely do that. We've got enhanced terrain section display, overall some speed improvements, an ability in Multiplot to control your end station. So within a chapter, you can actually set your start and end for the range that you want that chapter to cover, which if you're just doing a little piece of a design, you can control that versus having to delete pages from a PDF after. We've got the Multiplot eLibrary, as I mentioned. I think Dave's going to cover it, which is great. The template library improvements. We now have an API available for Optimal. There's support for DWG formats and for 2019, a direct export to Google Earth, auto curve generator, some UI improvements to section labeling, the equipment list and the library is a bit better, and more. So I'm going to pass it over to Dave. Please, by all means, if you have questions throughout this webinar, engage with us, ask the questions. We would be happy to address them. Okay, and with that, Dave, you're up.
Thank you very much, Erin. Okay, is my screen visible?
Totally good.
Well, okay, thank you. So you see the little diary there. Let's start with the survey map module. It's possible now in the survey map to actually create a survey from a GPS device. Okay, so I don't have a GPS connected to my computer, but there is a thing called Windows Location, which is pretty low quality, but it works for demos. So here we are. I am now connected to a thing called Windows Location, which is kind of like a GPS device. This ribbon is where you also connect up to your laser survey instrument. And we're talking here about taking survey map into the field. So you would need to have a Windows device that you can take out into the field. Assuming you've got that, I can create a new traverse. So let's just do that. And right away it says, hey, you've got GPS. what coordinate system do you want to use? UTM? Okay. So I'm going to use UTM zone 10, but I could have set up a coordinate system. I can still do it later. GPS right here, I can click on this button and it populates my starting coordinate with a GPS point. Well, that's kind of nice. Notice that my crappy Windows location is only providing elevation 0, which is not true. I'm definitely not at elevation 0, but we'll live with that. Okay, we're starting a new traverse. Now, if you're surveying with GPS, you don't have to enter azimuth and distance, but it's kind of nice to see them. You don't really, you do have to enter side shots if you don't have any other information, but let's pretend that we are working in an area where we have LiDAR data. LiDAR data will pick up cross sections for me, so I can just skip that. So I'm going to use a screen out that has no side shots in it. And now I'm ready to go. Okay, now just to, I'm going to put in some sort of comment here. Okay, I'm going to actually enter a shot manually. This is the old way of doing things. Let's say we go east for 100 meters and we got some slope on there. And now here's the new feature, or at least enhanced. In the traverse ribbon, I can click on Insert Shot or type Control-I, which is, depends on the field. I'm not sure what's easier. And there it is, XYZ, get from GPS. So there's a shot. Now, that doesn't give me azimuth and distance here. By the way, there's another one for XYZ slope or XY slope, so you can enter the slope manually. Or put in the elevation from the GPS. Depends on how accurate your GPS is. Right, append at the end, that's what I want to do. Enter shot and boom, there it is. Notice that my location hasn't changed. I'm still standing in my office here, and therefore to get back to that GPS location, it had to basically reverse the shot that I typed in by hand. So it's working. It's picked up the same coordinate for this station as I entered for my first station, and you can even see it's done the slope reversal too. So this one is absolute because it's got a star on it. This one is absolute. This is the one I typed in by hand, so that's azimuth and distance. So imagine you're out in the field, you've got a pretty decent GPS device. You can enter shots with your GPS device. You don't need to do azimuth and distance. It puts them in for you. However, if you run into an area with dense canopy, your GPS craps out, you can start putting in manual shots and it will continue with your traverse. And this traverse that I've created is a combination of manual shots and GPSs, and of course it's being adjusted so that all the absolute coordinates are tied down to the coordinate system, and that's key because this traverse here was surveyed. Actually, I just fabricated it, but we're imagining that this was surveyed on a piece of ground that has LiDAR. And so with a few absolute coordinates, in this case I think there's only 2, with a few absolute coordinates that have been georeferenced, the survey will lie correctly on top of my LiDAR data, and I can make a road design using a combination of LiDAR for side shots and P-line for ground types, comments, culverts, and all the other stuff you're used to putting in P-lines. Right, let's go on to the next thing. I'm going to come back to the location design with traverse and LiDAR, but first I'm going to jump over to the terrain module and show you the GPS in there too. So again, here I am in the middle of who knows where. I've got my terrain open on a device in the field, and I can connect up to GPS. Same process, searching for GPS devices. If I had one plugged into a port, it would show up. I don't, so I'm just going to use Windows Location Provider, and there's my current point. That's where I am. Here's a new feature that we need to show you, the waypoint generator. So first of all, I can start a track. That's really boring because my track's not going to move. I'm in one position here. I'm not actually moving. However, the waypoint works. Click on waypoint and enter a comment. Here's my waypoint, and it's counting. 45, 50, it's counting multiple shots and averaging them. Of course, the average isn't changing much because I'm standing in one place. And Windows location doesn't jump around like a real GPS. Anyway, once you've got a point and you're happy with the number of samples, you just click OK, and it creates a feature. And let's just log scale here and zoom in a bit, and there it is. There's my waypoint. Okay, so again, these features, GPS, require that you can take a Windows device into the field with RoadEng running on it. This is not the same as a Windows mobile device. We're talking about proper Windows operating system running in the field, ruggedized laptop, handheld computer. Live maps. Well, imagine I had a track here. Let's just extend this. And I don't know, how big is this thing I'm making? This is now 122 meters long. Okay. I've got a feature defined here, and I am going to find out where I am in the field. So actually, you know what? I'd like to open another example to do this. So I'm gonna jump into my my LiDAR survey. Yeah, now let's do it here. It'll go quick. So there is our live maps import of images, and there's my feature. You can kind of see this dark blue on a dark tree, so it's kind of hard to see. Again, Windows location has put me at least in the right ballpark. We're on Vancouver Island. That's good. I'm actually over here on Quadra Island, and I can click on save, and I'll create a background image. So live maps is not only a way to create a background image, but it's a great way to see if your coordinates and projection are correct. There's Google, there's Bing. They're slightly different, but basically the same thing. Okay, now, next thing, watershed calculation stuff. Okay, I'm going to open up a terrain. Oh, I want to do importing LiDAR. Sorry, let's do that. So I'm going to jump over to an example I've already created that has an area of interest. Here we go. So here are some features. These came from GIS system. They are shape files. I'm just going to open another shape file. So let's insert a shape file containing proposed roads. There they are. Now each one of these features has a lot of points in it. I've actually selected 403 points here. The inserted part, pardon me. That's quite a lot of points, and I could use these features right now to insert my LiDAR and use these to define corridors. But here's a little trick. If you are defining a corridor, and you'll see what I mean in a second, for thinning your LiDAR to an area of interest, it's smart to first make sure that you have a relatively simple feature. So I'm going to simplify this to 1 meter accuracy. That means this could wiggle around a little bit up to 1 meter from where it used to be. But the main thing about simplify is it reduces the number of points, the number of line segments, and it goes from 403 to 103. Doesn't look any different. Now I'm going to actually insert my LiDAR data. I'll Okay, so I go back to the home ribbon, insert file. Here's all my LAS files. Happen to know I only need the first 3, but I could have selected them all. And do I want to bring in all these data points? There's quite a lot of them. And that's what will happen if I just click OK right now. It'll bring in all the data from those 3 files. But I can choose the selection tab in my import options and add filtering regions. I'm going to add a corridor. And this is old technology except for this part. It used to be you had to pick one road at a time to do a corridor, or one polygon at a time to do a polygon region, but now you can do them all at once. So there's 3 proposed roads. Those are the things I just read in from my GIS file, my shape file, and they've all been added as corridor. I can change the width here, and there are my 3 sections. By default, they come in with all selected. I think, can I multi-select here? No, you can't multi-select here. So you still, if you want to change that from all to reduced, you still got to do each one. But I want all points, and I want to skip everything else. There we go. Let's open. Now, those features that I selected for corridor thinning are the same ones I just reduced the number of points in. And so this process, where it's actually looking for points inside the corridor boundary, this process goes faster if your corridor is not complicated. The most simple corridor is just 2 points, a straight line. These corridors have 100 points in them, and as you can see, it went pretty quick. So it read in all 3 LiDAR files, and it trimmed out everything outside my corridor, and I've now got a very simple data set. Okay, that's actually not what I want to use for my surface, so I'm going to open one that I've already created where I've brought in all the data in this entire region, and I've already thinned it down. I'm going to just open that file. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so in this case I brought in, you can see what the data looks like here. I brought in a clump of data, and I thinned it using this square, and whoever created the LiDAR tiles had already chopped off this bit on the edge here. And then after that I used the thinning function here to reduce the number of points, and I'm down to 600,000 points. That's well under the 10 million that the software is good for. So I've got a nice quick drawing and quick calculating terrain. Right, I want an air photo. I want a background image. What am I going to do here? Well, all you need to do is pick a feature. So let's say, actually picking a contour would work. Any feature that's kind of in the area of interest, and then you jump into Home, Import. Now Live Maps, yeah, draws my corridor on there, or my contour on there, and opens up the image display, and I can pick from basically 2 providers. MapTiler doesn't show you a very good image, never. I don't know why. However, Bing and Google are both good, and it kind of depends on, yeah, looks like that's terrible. I don't know why. That's better. Huh. That's strange. Usually Bing is better than Google. Anyway, let's go back to Google. We've got an image, and I'm looking at the right area of interest. Basically, you can scroll around and get the area of interest that you want on the screen, or you can crop it with this tool here, draw a rectangle. Once you've defined the area of interest, you click on Save, and I'm going to take the highest resolution possible, which is not great. So you got real air photos or drone photos. They're going to be way better than this. This is just under 1 meter per pixel, but it's free, And because it's not very dense, you can actually make pretty large images without taking up a lot of hard drive space. Got to choose a place for the file. I'm going to stick it in here. I've already done this, so I'm going to write on, no, let's call it image 3. Go. You must have a well-defined coordinate system because the Live Maps works from lat long and it has to convert to coordinates. And it automatically now in version 9 puts the image into an external file and adds it to your background. So now I've got a terrain here called well, image 2 because it was already in there. Let's remove that. And image 3, which I just added, it's in that folder where I chose to put the JPEG file. That's where it put the TERX file, and it's in my background. I can turn it on and off. Okay, that's Live Maps. Now, watershed calculation, new to version 9 also. This model here is pretty boring, so I'm just going to open another terrain and open a different file that's a little bit more interesting. Okay, this is a surface from LiDAR. It's got lots of bumps and wiggles. And in the plan window now, we've added these features in the terrain modeling ribbon, tin operations. Whoopsie. Oh yeah, that's right. And you can pick from which operation you want to do. Create boundary feature has been moved here. It used to be in the generate dialog box. You can drape features on background terrains now. And here's the watershed thing. So you might want to play around with this a little bit. There's a depression fill depth, which actually makes a difference. If the depression fill depth is quite large, it will tend to merge watersheds. If it's quite small, it'll tend to keep them separate. Basically, yeah, there's a help for this. Explains how it all works, and here's the concept of the depression filling. Okay, press the button. It goes away and creates a bunch of polygons. You can see them clearly here, but they're all selected. If I deselect them, you can see the colors. And these are zones where you basically get dividing lines along ridge tops, and so play around with that. See if you like it. That's the concept. It creates watershed boundaries. So we've modified some things in the cable analysis software in version 9. The basic functionality is the same, but the user interface has changed a bit. So if you have the cable analysis module, you can use this new thing called D-Lines Explore. What that allows you to do is pick a yarder. I'm going to just pick this grapple yarder here on my list. You can, of course, add and remove things from this list using these tools over here on the left side of the ribbon. And I'll just do a simple third point deflection with 7%. Now, here I choose the maximum length of my D-line road. I'm going to use 300 meters. The number of samples I want to move out radially from the point of interest. You'll see exactly what that means in a second. 16 samples. This will choose the best tail hole position using a automatic process, and I'm going to put in a tail hold of 10 meters. Show area polygon, show you what that means in a sec. You can turn off zones, but I'd like to see everything, so I'm just going to leave them all on. Click OK. Cursor changes, And now when I click, it calculates in the background very quickly 16 D-lines radiating from the point I click on. Oops, falling off the model, not a problem, just ignore that. There we go, another location, and every time you click, that polygon is being calculated, showing where the yarder hits the ground, and that therefore is your loggable area, and it's calculating an actual surface area here in hectares. Once you've chosen a place where you want to put your yarder, you can, so that's your landing, you can click on accept, and there it is. And there's the boundary again, it's still in there, and that area is 7.4 hectares. And if I want to look at any one of these cables, I can just select it and look at it in the profile window. So what happened here, this is this one going off down there, is it moved out just until it started to hit the ground and said that's as far as I can go, and put the tail hold right there. And that's this, well, I'm not sure why I'm getting a red zone in here. Oh, that's the display options. So cable analysis display in the plan has a new option for clearance, and in my the last time I was looking at this, I actually changed it. I'm going to change it back to 0. Okay, there we go. Now you can see that the actual loggable area is bigger than that polygon that was created. Let's get rid of that. And yeah, so now it's making sense. This feature here is logging out to the tail hold, and that's the green zone, and the outside of that is not shaded. So you can see very clearly what's going on here. Now these are kind of auto-created with Enable. Of course, you can go in here and delete them, or you can modify them and move them around. For example, if I duplicate that, I can move it to a different place. You can still work one feature at a time if you want to. Right, so there I've just created a new yarder starting. Let's put this end on a road, which would kind of make more sense. Do I have any roads yet? No, I don't. Okay, I'll just stick it right there. And new feature in profile, always show current feature. Then you don't have to keep resetting the fence section. It does it automatically, so you can have one profile window and very quickly look at a lot of D-lines. For example, if I just click on this one, by the way, when you use the D-line Explore tool, you create features called DL_Explore. There's that one. Here's this one. You can see it updates automatically and quickly. Here's the tool that allows me to control the options for this cable road. This new button here, new in version 9, allows you to automatically choose the tail hold position so that we get, and again, there's an option here for the clearance, so that we get, in this case, at least 0 clearance on my 7% deflection. Okay, I could talk for hours on cable analysis, so let's go on to the next thing, which is location module. So this is a surface, and I've got a P-line that lies on top of this surface. Let me just quickly bring that in here. Insert file, and that's not a very good location. Can we try that again? That's better. South Road Extension TR1. So this is the traverse we looked at just a second ago. And if I actually import it into my terrain, it lies on the surface. Perfect. Now, forget I did that. Let's close this. And let's not save. And let's switch over to the location module. So here's my P-line. I've done my P-line. I go into location and create a new design. P-line traverse, yep, I want one of those. There it is. But I also want a terrain surface. This is my LiDAR data. And the P-line doesn't have side shots, but the LiDAR data does have a surface. Create a new location design. Not important. Usually you can ignore this message. Only if your cross sections are being truncated near the road is it a problem. That message just tells me that I didn't go out forever here on the left-hand side. It stopped. Actually, I fell off the model there. But even here, you know, it's going out a long way. It's certainly far enough. Okay, right. So back to location design. I've created a new alignment. It's picking up cross sections from the survey. It's picking up from the LiDAR survey, the LiDAR topo. It's picking up ground types from the P-line and culverts from the P-line. And you can now do your design as you normally would. The profile is currently the ground. I need to design a vertical alignment, etc. Let me cut to the chase and open a finished version of that. It should be on my recent file list. Yep, that's the one. Now that worked well for two reasons. Well, one really important reason. The P-line was georeferenced. Not only is it correct in plan and lies on top of the surface, but also in profile. So the P-line survey has the correct profile. If it doesn't have the correct profile, then most of this will work okay. But if you turn on any labels, particularly labels that are coming from the P-line, field reference P-line, curve comments P-line, that sort of thing, they will appear on the P-line coordinate, and if it's not at the right elevation, it'll be off your screen somewhere and doesn't look very good. So you need to georeference your traverse, and that's by using absolute coordinates, right? And we did that with the GPS unit, but you could have typed in coordinates by hand as well. Okay, so now I've created a design, a road design, and I'm kind of interested in taking this design back out into the field. So I'm going to use Avens Maps. File save as, and pick from my types, Avens Maps. I'm just going to use the same file over again. Oh, okay. First time I did this, I didn't have a multiplot, and it told me that I didn't have a multiplot. But we do have a multiplot. So let me show it to you. I must have saved. There it is. Let's start with a blank multiplot. Okay, so I'm just gonna delete everything in here. Can I delete the last chapter? No, I can't. Yeah. So Multiplot allows you to create this kind of output. In this case, oh, that one got moved around a bit. These things move. In this case, the cross sections. That's not going to help you for exporting to Avens Maps because we can't georeference this. It's not a plan view. But if I have a any kind of multiplot with a plan in it, and Multiplot, here's the web library that's new to this version of the software. I'm currently looking at a B-size page, so it's prompting me all the B-size automatic chapters that I can pick from. So let's pick this one, okay, and there it is. So there's the plan over profile. You need a plan if you're going to export to a Venza map. Sections also get exported. This is not a good idea. I'm going to delete it. In future versions, it will not do that. It will not be necessary to do that. It won't export the section. But here we are. We've got plan windows in each of these pages. And if I export to a Venza map, you get this warning because each plan window is rotated. As far as I know, it doesn't cause any problems. You just have to say okay. And it's created a whole bunch of files on the hard drive. Let's just look. One for each page. There they are. If you want to see what's in those files, you can look at them. They're just zip files. You don't need to. Avenza reads a zip. So you just open the zip in Avenza and it will show you the contents, which look like this. It's just an image. And the plan part of the image is georeferenced. So if you want a simple map, make a simple multiplot with just a plan in it. If you want a map with a big scale, make a plan with a big scale. You get the idea. Now that was all that was on the list. There's a couple of bonus items I want to show you here. Let's just go back to the location design. I'm going to just close out the multiplot for now and go back to the plan window. Oops, plan window. There we go. So a couple of new features. We've also got shading added to the plan window, and I just wanted to show you that quickly. So plan option shading, there it is. This is showing me cut and fill on each cross section. You can't make it continuous because it's a cross section by cross section calculation going on here. And so it doesn't really know about cut and fill between cross sections. Anyway, there's the display. So you can see green is cut, red is fill, and is this okay? We've got cuts falling down the hill here, and you can just see it at a glance in the plan window. Similarly, you can add other things, cut, fill, surfaces, code pairs. So this is going to give me the ability to display, what do we got here? Ditch inside left, ditch outside left, ditch outside left. Yeah, okay, I set this up before. This one is going to show me the ditch on the left-hand side. This one is going to show me from the outside of ditch up to the slope stake. So it's basically your cut slope. And that's what it looks like. Okay, I don't know if I've chosen the best hatching parameter. You can change those here as well. So that one's currently set to solid opaque. Let's change it to something transparent. That'll look a little better. Same here. No, dots 4, that's a good one. Okay. Yeah, now I can see through it. That's better. There's my ditch bottom. There's essentially the exposed cut bank. Maybe you want to seed that. That's an area that you might want to seed so you can see it. Finally, when you export to a terrain, save as. Oh, I think you can see this in the 3D view too. The location design has a 3D window, and it has for a while. There we go. And are the culverts visible? There's a good question. Yeah, there's some controls in here for displaying 3D options. Yeah, the same controls, right? So there's culverts. These are the same controls you get from export. They're also available in the 3D window display. Okay, and then this I'm just going to make transparent. Okay, and okay. And I put in some culverts along here. Oh, come on. It's not showing me the culverts. Culverts, huh, I don't see them. Well, I'm going to now do the export because that works great. This might be something I need to report. Okay, so anyway, there is a 3D window. This hatching is looking like crap, so I probably want to change some options here. That's just the terrain background. This thing here. So if I turn that off, no, I have to select it here. There we go. If I turn that off and turn this on and make that transparent, I think it looks way better. This is the surface. These are the features for the background. There we go. Oh, okay, I turned on the surface triangles instead of the surface shading. You get the idea. So the 3D window is available in the location module, and we've always been able to save as terrain. So let's write on top of that file there. Culverts, that checkbox is available in the Save as Terrain. I can also do, I think everything else is correct. I don't want these things in there. Let's I'll leave them in, why not? Okay, create a surface, open terrain to see it. There's also shading in here, which I just showed you a second ago, but I'm not going to do that. And send this off to terrain. I think I got it set up right. Okay. So there it is. Doesn't look too interesting in plan. Let's look at it in 3D. And there it is. So again, I want to make my surface triangles transparent. Like so. Set the alpha channel to something less than 255. I know it's kind of technoidal, but that dialog we didn't write. We just got it from Microsoft. There we go. And there is a culvert. So that culvert visualization or rendering in the 3D window is new in version 9, and it kind of shows you what's going on and what your culverts look like. There it is underneath. There it is in the ditch. Okay. So you've been able to create this surface in version 8. Version 9 we added the culverts and the shading. That's all I wanted to show you. Now, if you have any questions, we have a questions tab in the yeah, I got a question. Why can't I see this? Hang on a sec. I got to get my questions visible to me.
Hang on, I can read them out for you if you'd like, Dave. We do have
Thanks.
a couple questions. We've got one here about, yeah, creating cross-section templates and needing a little bit of help with that.
We'd be happy to help you, but probably not during the demo. One of the new features in version 9 is only going to be visible to you if you, well, it's not a new feature in version 9. When we made the version 9 installer, we changed the default templates and the, whoops, wrong button, template editor. The default templates that come with the software, particularly the resource template, is quite different from the old roadway component. So there's the old default roadway component. You're probably familiar with that. And we've created a new component which we call resource. And we've put that in as our default template. You only get this as your default normal TPL table if you install on a fresh computer with no RoadEng on it already. Otherwise, it'll remember your old ones. But yeah, please contact us. We'd be happy to help you with the template. Any other questions, Erin?
Yeah, you've got another one here, and then we've gone quite a bit over, so I think we'll probably just cap it at the one and we can respond to the rest of them over email. But the question, does printing a multiplot PDF have a georeferencing option?
The PDF, no. But when you save as Avenza, as I demonstrated, it's creating the alternate Avenza format, which is the zip format. And inside the zip is an image file, and that is georeferenced, yes. PDF, no. But they're both readable by Avenza, so yeah, use this Avenza format.
Excellent.
By the way, there is an Avenza export in the terrain module as well. File save as Avenza. And in that case, it just gives you the plan window. So yeah, again, it'll be a zip format.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Dave, and thank you for taking the time to walk the group here through all the new improvements to RoadEng Forest Engineer version 9. The other questions, we will absolutely follow up with you after the fact, and if anyone has anything else that's lingering, by all means, please send us an email at support@softree.com. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye now.